Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Prep Life Podcast. This is your founder and CEO of Glam Girl Bikini, Amy Anger. And today I'm joined by my fabulous co host, Leemarie Jones. How's it going, Lee?
Awesome. So good. Quick shout out. I'm wearing my Fit with Brit
Ooh,
cropped sleeves that I got at our last posing seminar. So I just thought I'd
yay.
shout them out. Super cozy now that it's getting cold out.
I'm glad you actually said that because that segues into, and I meant to put a reminder for the posing seminar at Beastified this weekend. So if you're listening today, it's in 2 days. It's on Saturday, October 25th. There is a sign up on if you go to the gym's Instagram page, Beastified Gym, you can sign up there. I believe, I mean, I've had the link on my story, so just feel free to DM me on Instagram if you need it. You can either do it through Glam Girl Bikini, our Instagram, or Amy Anger.
I can put the
Um,
link in the show notes too.
yeah, yeah, good
Mhm.
call. There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you, podcast manager.
Yeah.
It's from 12 to noon. I think there's at least 10
12 to
IFBB
2.
pros.
12 to 2?
12 to 2. Yeah.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, did I say that? Sorry if I
You said
didn't.
12 to noon.
Oh,
12 at
yeah,
noon,
that
no
wouldn't make
noon.
sense. 12 to 2
Mhm.
on Saturday, October 25th. And there's about 10 different IFBB pros. Myself and Savannah are going to be working the fit model part of the breakout session. But if you are, it's a women's posing seminar. So we're going to have IFBB pro like Sarah Purdon from Beastified, who's also another trainer like myself. She's women's physique. So anything from women's physique, bodybuilding, wellness, figure. Kim Seeley, I think, is going to be there helping out with figure fitness. There's like a couple wellness pros like Shay. So it's a really good opportunity for people to have a free seminar for 2 hours of posing. We'll get into like scenarios and how to, do all the mandatories and things like that. But it's also good. I was telling my client who's fit model, she's never competed. And I just said, we work every week together in the studio, but I'm like, until you get right next to other people and you're posing and you're switching spots and, kind of holding those things and trying to hit those angles, I think it's more real when you have other people. And she was like, what do I wear? So those of you that don't know what to wear, if you are getting ready for the November show, which she is November 15th, like, don't be afraid to wear a posing suit.
Mhm.
It's better because she's like, well, I got to make my debut sometime. So might as well do it now with like less people. But that way the coaches can see your lines, see your tie-ins. So, for a couple of our sessions, she was wearing the booty shorts, and it's like I can't really see what your bottom of your glutes are doing with your tie-in area and how that's looking. So if you can, if you're in the improvement season, don't worry about wearing leggings and, I would say at least wear something that shows your abdomen a little bit just so that you can kind of see how your torso is twisting. But if you're not comfortable in that too, like tank top and leggings or booty shorts and sports bra, all of those things are just fine.
Mhm.
So sorry about that big spiel.
That's great. I love it. Yeah, no, that's a really good point because I think a lot of people wonder about that going to posing seminars and stuff. And it's like the safest place possible to just wear your posing suit or your actual suit if you're coming up to a competition. And I mean, if you can be confident in a room full of other competitors practicing,
Yeah.
and even in your improvement season or a few weeks out from a show, that's just going to help build your confidence for being on stage as well, because
Yeah.
you have to do it eventually.
Yeah. I had a 50-year-old that she was competing for the first time in Philadelphia, and she was doing fit model. And it actually gave her way more confidence. She was so nervous to go. And I told her, bring your posing suit, go to this seminar. It'll at least give you like a dip of your foot into the waters. And she actually came out of that feeling so much more confident because she felt like she wasn't ready. And then she was like, oh, like this is kind of great to like see like other people are doing this and they're in different stages of the journey. And I think it made her feel better about,
Yeah, I think
where she was at.
that's one topic that we're actually going to talk about today, but I think that's a
Yes.
question later on. But
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of questions, and this is our Ask Me Anything episode. So, or Ask Us Anything. So do you want to go over we have 10 questions. We'll try to cover them all in 30 minutes.
Mhm.
So some will be fast, some short answers, but some might be a little bit more extended.
Okay, so question number one that we got is what is your biggest post-show struggle and how do you overcome it? So for me, the biggest post-show struggle is taking a break. So like pumping the brakes on my prep, and then starting momentum again, even if it's like mentally. So usually after show day, you take a deload week where you just give your body a much needed break. You rest, you're very sore usually. And then you jump into a reverse diet, so you're eating more food, and it just sometimes feels like you're pumping the brakes, and then you have to turn around and hit the gas, but in a different direction, going towards improvement. And so I think sometimes even just mentally, but also physically, it's hard for me to pump the brakes and then get back into it and build that momentum. So what I do to overcome that, what I've found helps me mentally and sometimes physically too, is to set another goal that is unrelated to dieting and physique. So usually for me, it's a performance-based goal. So something like a race or a high rocks competition, which is what I'm doing right now, focusing on something that helps me focus on performance goals, but also that it doesn't go against my off-season goals. So I wouldn't necessarily want to go into like a CrossFit season where I might build out muscle where I don't want it, or do something like a powerlifting or something unless it fit in with my off-season goals. So I also always want to check on that. But it helps me to focus on a performance goal and do something fun, whether it's just like a 5K, like a fast time, or even training for like a longer race or a high rocks competition, that gives me somewhere to focus on that isn't physique related.
Yeah, I have a similar struggle as well. So my biggest recent one, so I did North American, so that was like right at the end of August, like beginning of September. So it wasn't too long ago, but what I experienced this time around, and I think every prep's different on like kind of what you get burnt out on, but like this time I was so burnt out on cardio and steps and movement. It was very difficult for me to get motivated to do that, to like hop on my treadmill, wake up early, or like try to get a million steps. So I really focused on, and I had told my two tennis teams that I'm on, I told them, like while I was prepping, I couldn't really play. And so I kind of loaded the back end of my season because you kind of like pick like 50% of the games or whatever, to kind of share with your teammates. And so I like backloaded mine for all of September. And so tennis was like at least twice a week for games. And it was good exercise. And then I would take some of the drills, and those really get me when I'm competitive. So no shocker there. But
Hmm.
when like you said, like with the high rocks, like if there's something competitive, I don't feel like I'm really like pushing myself, but I will push myself,
Hmm.
to like win. Like in every situation, like with these drills, it's kind of like a game. So between like cardio, tennis, and different things, like it's helped me kind of get through that little bit of a rut where because you can't just stop cold turkey. If you've put in that adaptation by a lot of minutes, you're banking a lot of minutes, and then you just stop. And after a show, it's a huge, like, it's just like binging after a show on food. The deficit's the deficit. Like, the adaptations are the adaptations. Like, if you're on low calorie and you're on high cardio, you have to slowly get rid of those adaptations. And if you stop cold turkey on one of those deficits,
Hmm.
it doesn't matter if you're staying on your reverse diet. Like that's a huge pendulum shift in your movement of your body. So that's where I did it. And then also I always feel like accountable to my dog too. And luckily the weather was really nice right after, and it's been really nice here, like in the 80s. And so I feel like if I am taking him on a WALK, I have to spell it because he's in the house. Um,
That's so cute.
otherwise, he'll get excited and go running into the door waiting for my leash to pop out. But anyway, yeah. So it makes me feel better. Like, okay, I'm doing him a service. Like, and then I feel refreshed too, just being out in nature and things like that.
Mhm.
So,
That's awesome.
okay. So, what's your favorite macro-friendly snack or treat right now?
I think we're both gonna say this, but definitely the protein Ninja Creamy ice cream. That
Okay.
is magical. It's amazing. I am a huge sweet girly, so ice cream is big for me. And
Yeah.
then if I really want something like crunchy to munch on, I've actually been getting into air popped popcorn. I realized that you can make it in the microwave without
Okay.
making microwave popcorn. You can just get like one of those paper bags and you put 1/4 cup of popcorn kernels in the bag and you fold it over twice and you put it in the microwave in the popcorn setting and it just pops it. And there's no chemicals, there's no butter, there's nothing. And it like air pops your popcorn, but you don't have to
Oh,
like
cool.
haul out a big air popper, which I don't even have. And so I love that. And then I'll get just the popcorn flavored salt and just use that.
Oh, yeah.
Super high volume, low calorie, lots of good fiber.
Yeah. My new treat, obviously I always have, a creamy in my staple, but my newest favorite treat, they just came out with the legendary Foods protein donuts. And those are my jam. For two donuts, it's 160 calories, 20 grams of protein, 26 grams of carbs, and I think like 6 grams of fat or something, maybe even less than that on the fat. Um, but the vanilla ones taste like the donut holes from Dunkin' Donuts. Like the chocolate frosted ones taste like, I mean, it literally tastes so good. They're tiny, but they're satisfying for 160 calories. It just doesn't even seem like a real thing. So if you're a donut lover, that's my new kick. Like those just came out. I'm a huge fan of their Pop Tarts and their sweet rolls, but their macros aren't as good as the donuts.
Mhm.
So
That
yeah.
just reminded me, I just found this new, this is on the salty side. Like if you crave chips or like Cheetos or cheese puffs or whatever,
Hmm.
Aldi has this brand of protein nacho cheddar like cheese puffs. And
Ooh,
it's pretty cheap. They have like a jalapeno cheddar one and then just like a regular cheddar one. And if you eat the entire bag, I think it's like 300 calories and like 40 grams of protein. But if you have one serving,
whoa.
like 100 and it's like 140 calories and like 18-ish grams protein. Super good snack.
Yeah, that's a really good one. All right, what was one mistake you made in prep that you'll never repeat? You want to go first?
hmm
Okay.
I'm using a diuretic. So
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think you'll remember this one. We've talked about this on the
Yeah.
podcast before. I've done it on a few preps, and then there was one prep that you did not want to do it. I did want to do it. I was panicking because I felt watery and bloated because I just got my period. And side note, ladies, you don't always lose your period, and you can
Yeah.
stay healthy. And I've had my period on peak week. So if you're doing it right, you don't always have to lose your period, but some people do, and
Yeah.
that is okay too. But just watch your health markers. But for me, I thought that using diuretic was sort of going to pull some water from my waist. I felt like my waist was kind of bloated, and it ended up not making me look good. I looked flat. My glutes kind of fell down, like you said, and it was just like, I was like, nope, after that, no, we're not using a diuretic.
Yeah, it was crazy. Because I have you like basically check in every day, and I was
Mhm.
like, "Whoa, where did your glutes go?" And I had just
Mhm.
seen you in person, I think, like a couple of days prior, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, your glutes just got flattened." So it pulls water from anywhere, and
Mhm.
most of your muscle tissue is
Mhm.
water, which is why bioelectrical impedance, like it measures water hydration because it's measuring the water in your muscles. But anyway, the one that I would say that was my biggest mistake, and this was a while ago, but it was a period that I was like doing a very restrictive diet leading
Mhm.
into the show for a long extended time. And I made the mistake of not only going on vacation right after a show, but I went to an all-inclusive. And I'm one of those people that if food is free,
Mhm.
if I pack whatever I pack, then I eat whatever I eat. Or like if I have to buy it or cook it in a kitchen on vacation. So I'm not saying like you can't go like I do vacation after a show, but I come prepared with like food and a plan. This was a horrible mistake. I'm so ashamed to even say, but like after the week, I think I gained like 15 or 10 or 15 pounds.
Mhm.
And it wasn't all just water, quote unquote,
Right.
water weight.
Right.
So yeah, it
I
wasn't good.
I think
Wasn't
that
a good
like
situation.
people think, and this is said a lot in the fitness industry, that you like one bad meal will ruin all your progress, which is true. But if you have a week, especially after the show, your body is like a sponge. If you have an
Hmm.
all-out week, like at an all-inclusive vacation, you absolutely can put on 10, 15, 20 pounds. That actually can happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so number four, what's the biggest myth about judging?
Yeah.
As a judge, what would you say?
I would say that people think judges are biased to certain teams and like different coaches or like the connections there that they have with coaches. And I would say the debunking of that myth is that there's such a thing as definitely facial recognition.
Mhm,
And I know this because I've like read Sandy's lips like saying Amy should go here. Like I've seen her like actually say my name. And so I do think there is something to facial recognition. So if you have like a sea of like 30 people in a class, it could possibly help you for like first call out if they've seen you before and
mhm,
you spend the time to talk with them after the show and get feedback. And then sometimes they even recognize like, hey, I noticed you made these improvements from the last time I saw you on stage. So like visually, I think it's just human nature. Like if you recognize somebody, your eye's going to be more drawn to them. And I think we saw a little bit of that in the Olympia, just in the call out situation when they're 69 or 68. I think a couple of people had to scratch. Um, it's your name sometimes can pull you up in that situation as a pro. But I do think, like, I don't think that anyone cares, like, oh, they train with this team, or, I've never known that to be a thing. But I think it is a myth that people think that there's like a bias based on,
mhm,
like, oh, well, if you train with this team, then you're gonna, win your pro card. And that's not necessarily true. Most of the time it looks like that because they're just really big teams with like 80 coaches
mhm,
and the numbers in this small niche sport, it's it's a numbers game. Like so many teams, like if they have 80 coaches and each coach has 100 athletes, like the odds of them getting a lot of pro cards are probably pretty high because that's a lot of people compared to a team that maybe only keeps a roster of 15
mhm,
clients. They're going to probably produce maybe one pro card a year
mhm.
in that scenario, and that's actually like a better percentage if that makes sense.
Mhm. I
So,
think I even at the NPC, like the lower level, I have heard that like when there's like disappointment about where you've placed as an athlete, like saying, well, the judges must have just been biased to this athlete. But I think we even saw this at the Olympia, but I think you see it even more at the NPC local level, the regional level, that often no one on stage is showing up at 100% perfect. And so the
mhm.
judges are picking and choosing who has the best this versus the best that. And it might be, and they're trying not to, like, judges aren't judging the best glutes. They're not judging the best core. They're judging overall the best physique, right? And so I think it's really easy, especially at the local level where we're not pro level physiques, most of us yet,
Yep.
and so they're picking out of what they're given, and they might prefer one thing over another. When you say, well, I came in leaner than her, well, maybe she had a better stage presence, or maybe she presented better to that. But I also think, and I don't know if this is a myth, but I think it's an assumption about judges, especially at the local level, that they are just there to criticize and find faults, which as a job description is kind of their job, but
Yeah.
also they are invested and are spending so much time and energy in these shows and this industry, and they want to see athletes improve. They want to see you do well. They want to give you feedback, and especially if you're really brand new, they're not annoyed that you're there at the show. They're happy that there's a lot of competitors at the show and they're building the sport. It's still a very small sport when you consider like the NFL or something like the MLB or something. Like bodybuilding is a small sport, and so they want to see it grow. And so they're welcoming new competitors. It's just that they might give you a lot of things to improve on. But it's always been my experience that they're so friendly and so nice when you ask them for feedback. And even when you're looking out at them during like on stage, I always like would encourage you to like look out and try to catch the judge's eyes when you're on stage, when you're being compared, when you're doing your routine, and not just black out. I know that's easy to do on your first show, but I always try to kind of catch their eyes, and often they're very happy to catch your eye, and they're very like friendly looking and inviting, and they're ready to see you improve, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. All
So
right, number five. Do you want to read that one?
sure.
Or do you want me to?
Okay, what's your take on fit model versus bikini physiques in 2025?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, my personal one is that they are bikini competitors in a stallion pose. I still do think that they're really like when I look at who's winning the pro card, when I'm there competing myself and like looking at the comparisons, the and they're personal friends of mine that like have won a pro card in fit model or have gotten first like in my class, and they're people that have been doing bikini forever and they just were never big enough or so there is less muscle than bikini. I mean, it is a little bit less conditioning, but I still think that they're looking for that same shape, just a little bit smaller and a little less harder, like just less density.
Mhm.
But I do notice that there's definitely, even though they say just like a full tight glue, and no hamstring separation or I do really think they're still kind of awarding the tie-in. It needs to be there to win.
I, yeah, I think, okay, my take, having not seen any shows yet, but just kind of hearing feedback from people, I mean, it's so new, and I feel like they're still looking to nail exactly what the fit model look is. Like, I think their criteria is there, and I think the NPC and the IFBB and judges know what they're looking for, but then in reality, they have to judge what's in front of them.
Yep.
So if they're picking the best one and in their head, this is not what fit model should look like, but she's the closest today, all we have to look at is the one that's the closest today. So I think
Hmm.
it's just so new that we just have to continue to look over the criteria and try to fit the criteria.
Yeah.
And it might be that there's some shows like in 2026 where somebody gets awarded that looks different than the other ones because they just showed up on point. And it's like, oh, why'd you reward her? Well, maybe that's the physique they had in their head, and she actually paid attention to the criteria and not to everyone else around her, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Okay, so question 6. How do you know when you're ready for nationals or for the pro league?
Yeah. I think this one, there's so many different factors.
Mhm.
So many things to consider. But first and foremost, when we're talking regional show, the size of the show and the caliber of judges matters. You need to have a show that has a national panel of judges. So, just to give you an example, and not throwing anybody under the bus locally here, but there's like a set of promoters that just kind of hire judges based on if they're an IFBB pro, not if they've taken like the national panel test. Then
Mhm.
there's another set of promoters that only get IFBB national panel judges. So they've been tested at those levels of nationals and they judge at a regional level. I think
Mhm.
you have to make sure you have a national panel of judges. So you can always guarantee that if you go to a show that there's also a pro show in conjunction with the NPC side of it. Those judges to judge IFBB, you have to be a national panel judge.
Mhm.
So choose your regional shows if you want that litmus test of the judges that are going to be at nationals judging you. Choose those shows that have, coincide with IFBB pros competitions. And then the other thing is just because you get nationally qualified does not mean you're ready for nationals. There can be a number of different factors in this one. And the first one, and just the most obvious, is masters competitors get qualified just competing. That
Mhm.
is not the standard. I solely like that particular qualification bugs me so much because it's like, oh, you're just so old that like you just make it. Like you can just go. No, the quality at nationals for masters competitors is
Mhm.
very tough. It's very
Yeah.
competitive. You have to do very well. I would wager to say that you have to do very well in open at a regional show if you want to compete at masters level and almost get like to the point where you're winning your open class, maybe winning the overall and winning your master's class just because it's so, for one thing, they just lump all the master's competitors in one class. Usually they don't even put height splits. And at a national level, you're going to be in height splits. Like everybody's going to be perfect up there. So even if you get like second place in open and you're nationally qualified as well, like that's another thing. Like don't take that as like, oh, now I'm ready for nationals because I'm nationally qualified. Look at the size of the show, the caliber of the show, the caliber of the judges. So if you know you're at a big show and you win your class in the open, the odds are probably likely if you've had a national panel of judges that you're pretty much ready.
Mhm.
There's no guarantee. So
Yeah.
I mean, that in of itself, if we want to talk about pro league, I would say the first time that you're actually in like a lineup that is like a pro show is once you win your IFBB pro card and you're in the overall. So there's no height classes for pros. So
Hmm.
once you win your pro card, let's say you win an H, you're going against A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Hmm.
So if you do well in the overall at a pro qualifier, like where you won your pro card, and you do well in the overall, then that's probably going to tell you something about how you're going to do in the pro league because
Hmm.
those are all pros now that you've just gone against. But in that case, I would also ask Sandy if she thinks that you're ready for your pro debut. That's what Chris and I did. And she said, get out there and compete, see where you land. And that was just her particular feedback. But ask that after you win your pro card, like, how long should I wait to do my pro debut? Because if you have a bunch of size to put on and they feel like you're not going to be ready at that show, you were pro worthy, but maybe at the, pro level, you need more size, like you need a year of growing, something like that. So I would say, if your conditioning's on point, obviously it's going to be, but it's more of a muscle thing if you're ready for the pro league, in my opinion.
Right.
So if
Yep.
you've gone pro and then are trying to decide.
I love that. Okay, let's rapid fire the next three. And
Okay.
then I love the last question, so we might not be able to rapid fire that one. But okay, so
Okay.
number seven, what's the difference between looking good in photos versus looking good on stage? I just said about 20 pounds. You can look good in photos and at the gym. Actually, once you get stage lean, you probably don't look as good in person. If you see somebody that's about ready for stage, they
Yeah.
don't look as good in person. They look a little emancipated. But
Emaciated, you mean?
what's that?
Emancipated.
Is
Emancipated means
that
they've like freed themselves.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
they're tiny, they're
Emaciated.
swallowed up, they're sunken in their face and
Gaunt.
stuff,
Yeah.
but then on stage, under a tan, under lights and posing, that's what's gonna look good.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, 10 to 20 pounds is probably the difference.
Yeah. I would say even just 2 weeks prior to the show or 2 weeks after, just because photo shoot looking good is lean, but not stage lean, like you
Hmm.
said.
Yeah.
And then number eight's a pretty short one too. This one will be easy to rapid fire. What's your favorite high volume meal right now? And I have to say skinny pasta. I like the fettuccine noodles. They're only 9 calories for the whole bag. Very good. You can
Mine
get
is
them on
always
Amazon or
salads.
Walmart.
I'm a salad girl. I love a salad with what my best hack is I would get the olive oil spray or the avocado oil spray and I just do like a couple of sprays just to like
Wow.
get it
Okay.
wet and then I use seasonings. So I'll use like my white cheddar
Interesting.
popcorn salt or just various spices and seasonings instead
Wow.
of salad dressing. It tastes amazing and it's a huge calorie hack.
Yeah, I wouldn't even have thought of that. That's great. Love it.
Okay, this is an interesting one. How can athletes advocate for themselves professionally with promoters and judges?
Yeah. So with judges, I think, talking to them respectfully, thanking them for the time that they've put in, asking how you can improve is the appropriate way to advocate for yourself and improvements. Try to avoid conversations and phrases like, why didn't I beat so and so? Why did I, like, why did she place higher than me? Don't make it about other people for sure. When it comes to the promoters, I think in this situation, you're more the customer than you are with a judge. So you can ultimately always give your dollar vote when it comes to going to shows. So if you are unhappy with the services that are provided, like the way you were treated, you have your dollar vote, you can take it somewhere else. There's a lot of shows, there's a lot of different promoters. And I think in those situations, if you are a first timer, don't be afraid to advocate for yourself and ask questions. Attend the meetings because every promoter does things a little bit differently.
Mhm.
And the way that they run their show, even though it's all the NPC and the IFBB, every single show has little nuances and different things. So if you don't want to miss a beat, like for me, I usually do skip the athlete meeting because I know pretty much like what people are doing. But like if you're a first timer, be at that stuff, so that you
Mhm.
can ask the right questions because that's the appropriate time to
Mhm.
find that kind of stuff out.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so last question.
Okay.
I have a pretty quick answer to this, so I'll answer it and then I'll let you take it. So, what is the takeaway from this year's Olympia winner in the bikini division? Should bikini competitors adjust our goals to look more like Marine? So, my thought on this is watch Tyler Mannion's video.
Yeah.
Nobody, even from his mouth, no one showed up perfectly. So it's like what we said before, they were judging from the physiques in front of them. And
Hmm.
then even Maureen got a lot of feedback from Tyler in that video. He gave her a lot of things that she should improve on. So look at the bikini criteria because he said in that video it has not changed. So go back, look at the criteria again, get your own feedback from judges, and come in at your own best physique. Oh, also, and another thing, pose, 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 pose. Because a lot of people even said this about Maureen was that her presence on stage and her confidence won that show. So,
Yeah. And Tyler, that was my main takeaway is um like you said to your point of no one was 100%, but his big thing he kept saying was
mhm,
her presence got her through. And so I think you can see it in someone's face, you can see it in the way they move their body when they feel confident and when they feel like they have that it factor, it's immediately picked up and transferred. So as Becky Clausen says, you can have the best physique on the stage, but if you don't present it well, then it doesn't really matter.
mhm,
So, yeah, it just reemphasizes that posing can really change the outcome
mhm.
based on, where you're at with the other competitors. So,
Good.
yeah.
Hey,
All right. Well, we'll put the link for the posing seminar on Saturday in the show notes. You can follow us on Glam Girl Bikini or at Prep Life Podcast on Instagram. We'd love it if you tagged us in your story, telling us what you thought about the episode. Anytime you have questions similar to these that we just, alluded to, you can DM us on Instagram and we'll try our best to talk about them in future episodes. And if you would like coaching from Lee Marie or myself, you can go to glamgirlbikini.com and hit the get started button. Thanks for listening, guys.